So I often see comments about people controlling recoil saying, oh, it must be a strike pack, this and that, strike pack, Cronus, and all this, especially when it comes to controller. But there's actually a few ways you can help reduce your recoil, so there's practically nothing, and it's really, really easy to control. And that's what I'm going to cover today. There's a couple tips that I'm going to go over that will seriously help you improve your recoil control. So without wasting time, let's get to it. So my first way and my first method of improving your recoil control would be in your ALCs. And it actually starts with your dead zone. So your dead zone just affects how sensitive and how much of your stick input is registered. Now, as you can see, if I put this on 0 dead zone, I get a ridiculous amount of stick drift because I'm just on a standard potato station controller. But if you can deal with the stick drift, then I would highly recommend having it on as low as possible. But basically, the lower this is, because it does recognize the finer inputs and the smaller controls, the lower this is, the better and the easier it's going to be to control your recoil, because you're not going to have to counter that recoil and pull down as much in order to control it. So just practicing now, we can sort of make a small adjustment and just pull down on the recoil and try combat its recoil pattern of the weapon, and you'll see it's pretty much, you know, it's pretty much non-existent. There's very little recoil, and it makes for easier shooting and better aiming on your targets. Now, I'm not saying my aim is perfect, but of course these tips are just what I've learned over my time of playing Apex, and I want to share that with you guys. So please don't judge my aim too much. It's not perfect, like I say. So that would be my first tip. Experiment with a lower dead zone. If that's something you're struggling with, the lower it is, I really need to adjust mine lower, but the lower it is, obviously the easier it will be, and for the smaller inputs to try and control the recoil. However, if you do get stick drift, it may cause problems, and that's something to remember. Now, my next tip here is a pretty simple one actually, and basically if you do the opposite input while you strafe, it actually counters the recoil, and this is an interesting one. I don't know why it works, but it does. So what I mean by this is, if I aim and strafe right, but then I pull my aim stick down and left, it sort of counters the recoil pattern that we're doing, and it's really weird. And it only really gives the sort of more vertical recoil than the horizontal. So I'll just show you what I mean here. So all I'm doing right now is just pulling down and left on the stick, and you can see for the flatline how precise that is. Now, obviously I'm using quite a close target here, so let's try something a little further back. And like I say, my aim's not perfect, but if we just stand still and don't do any of that and just try pull down with a flat line, it's a lot harder, and you can see my aim's just going crazy because I'm not adjusting for it. But it sort of counters the horizontal kick you get from a flat line, and that's, you know, that's way more accurate than what it will be just standing still, and that's a random Valk, just, you know, the firing range bug. But we'll carry on. So we can also do that the opposite way. I just prefer doing it that way if I am to do it. So we can also strafe left and pull down and right, and as you can see, I'm not very good at doing that. But the flatline, I mean, the flatline is a pretty hard weapon to control, but we can just use that sort of strafe, and although it's not perfect, it does reduce the recoil quite a lot. And obviously with weapons like the Vault and stuff, it's gonna be a lot easier. And obviously with the combined dead zone, it makes for much better recoil control, which is what we're after. You know, it's not going to be perfect unless you really practice. You are going to need some time in the firing range to practice the best you can and really get to grips with it. So you know, it's going to take a bit of time getting the firing range and try it out for yourself. Now, this last tip I've got, actually, I've been trying it out and I can't get the hang of it just yet, but I thought I'd share it with you guys. Something I saw on TikTok. And as you've seen, I've got no stabilizers on these weapons either. Of course, you can't have any for the flatline, but if we had stabilizers on, it would make it even easier. But what I saw is, I don't know if you may not be aware of, on PC, you can sort of shake your mouse to how you're shooting the bullet, and it kind of cancels the recoil. Now, what I saw on TikTok was that if you wiggle your aim stick up and down, it cancels the horizontal recoil, and it did on a flatline. And I've tried it. I think it's a thing. I can't really confirm too well. Like I say, my aim isn't the best anyway, but I can't really confirm whether it is very accurate or not. But I'm gonna lower my Deadzone to kind of show you. So I'm just gonna wiggle my stick input up and down, like, and obviously the lower Deadzone is gonna make this easier. But this is gonna take a lot of practice to get right, and you need to do it to the fire rate of the weapon as well. So obviously the flatline has a slower fire rate than most weapons, so it would be a good one to start with, especially with the horizontal recoil we get. But if I just like wiggle it, like, although you can sort of see it going up, like, so, okay, the easiest way to compare this, it would be on a wall, wouldn't it? So let's try that. Although I'm going to be pretty close range here. Let's do it here. So we're just gonna, that's me not doing anything on the aim stick there. Yeah, it saved the bullet. Okay, and then I'm just gonna try this wiggle technique. And although you know it's not perfect, that spread is much better than that spread. Like, way better. At least we're kind of hitting a target, you know. So I don't know whether it is actually a thing or whether it's more placebo, but it definitely seems to work a little bit. Like, it's just, I find it hard to do the small stick input, which is why obviously the lower Deadzone helps, but trying to do that fine stick input just seems a little tricky. But you can kind of see it like cancels out, and then obviously combine that with like strafing along as well, and you get a pretty accurate sort of aim pattern and a way better spray pattern than what you would if you weren't doing this. So, you know, although we don't always get the headshots, it does sort of do something, I think. And especially like the vault, is pretty easy to control anyway, but it just makes it an absolute beamer. Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, those are my sort of recoil techniques that I would recommend you practice. Of course, the other one is with the simple weapons like the 99, the vault, the 301. Just spray against the wall like that, and then try and counter that the best you can. So that's like up and left, so we want to pull down and right, and that is also another way to combat recoil, and then you get the better spray pattern. So you need to practice this stuff in the firing range. It's probably not going to happen overnight, and you need to practice it every time you're helping into Apex. Practice your aim and give it a shot. And hopefully in time you will see your recoil gets much better. But hopefully these tips helped. If they did help you, please do give a like. I would really appreciate it, and check out my channel for more Apex content. But for now, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.